There's a version of this video that tells you AI is overhyped and your accounting job is completely safe. There's another version that tells you automation is coming for everything and you should be panicking. Neither of those is actually useful. What's worth talking about is what AI is already doing inside accounting right now, what it realistically can't do, and which skills are going to matter more as this plays out, not less. That's what this video is. The starting point is being honest about what's already changed, because some of it is further along than people realize. Transaction matching and reconciliations, work that used to eat up significant associate hours, is being automated at a lot of firms. Anomaly detection in large datasets, the kind of work that used to require someone to manually sort through thousands of rows looking for something that stands out, is something AI tools handle faster and more consistently than any manual process. Documentation drafting, first pass work papers, summaries, memo structures, is being generated with AI assistance at firms that have rolled out those tools. The pattern across all of it is the same. High volume, lower judgment tasks are the first to get absorbed. The work that is repetitive, rules-based, and doesn't require much contextual interpretation is exactly the kind of work AI handles well. And a meaningful portion of what entry-level accounting roles used to spend time on falls into that category. This is where the conversation usually gets uncomfortable, so it's worth being direct about it. Some traditional associate-level work is shrinking. The volume of low-judgment, high-repetition tasks that used to fill a significant part of an early career in accounting is decreasing. That's not speculation. It's already happening at firms that have implemented these tools. But shrinking tasks is not the same thing as eliminating roles. What's actually happening is a compression of the lower end of the work. The stuff that used to take a first year 2 hours is getting done faster, which means the expectation shifts. You're expected to move up the value chain sooner. The runway for purely mechanical work is getting shorter, which means the timeline for developing judgment, communication, and client skills is also getting shorter. The honest framing. The role isn't disappearing, but it's changing faster than most accounting programs and even most firms have fully acknowledged. If you go into your first year expecting the same experience that associates had 5 years ago, you'll be behind the curve before you've started. This is the part worth focusing on, because it's also where the career upside sits. Professional judgment in ambiguous situations is genuinely hard to automate. Accounting and audit are full of situations where the technical answer exists, but applying it requires understanding context, understanding the client, and making a call that someone has to stand behind. AI can surface information, it can't exercise judgment, and it can't be held accountable for a conclusion. Client relationships are another category entirely. Knowing how to read a room, knowing when a client is frustrated and why, knowing how to deliver a finding in a way that doesn't immediately put someone on the defensive. That's not a soft skill in the dismissive sense. It's a capability that takes years to develop and has no automated equivalent. There's also something that experienced auditors develop that's harder to name, a sense that something passes technical review but still doesn't feel right. That instinct comes from pattern recognition built over time, combined with the willingness to push on something even when the documentation says you don't have to. That's not something you can prompt your way to. And at the end of the process, someone has to sign off. AI doesn't sign the engagement letter, a human does. Accountability isn't going anywhere, which means the humans responsible for exercising it aren't going anywhere either. If you're early in your career and trying to figure out where to put your development energy, here's the honest answer. Communication is probably the highest leverage skill you can build right now. The ability to take a technical finding, something complicated, something that involves judgment, and explain it clearly to someone who isn't an accountant is increasingly valuable as AI absorbs more of the mechanical work. The translation layer between what the work says and what the client needs to understand is a human job. Skepticism matters more than it used to. Not skepticism in the sense of being difficult, but the habit of asking the right questions, knowing what should be there and noticing when it isn't, and pushing on things that feel off even when the process doesn't require it. That's the skill that makes a good auditor, and it's one AI tools don't cultivate on their own. Adaptability is underrated as a career skill in general, but it's especially relevant right now. The firms and individuals who are positioning themselves well are the ones learning the new tools early. Not because AI is going to do their job for them, but because understanding what it can and can't do gives you a significant advantage over people who are ignoring it. And presence, the willingness to show up, to build trust, to be someone that clients and colleagues actually want in the room, that's a human moat that isn't going anywhere. The practical version of this is straightforward, even if it requires some intentionality. Learn whatever AI tools your firm has rolled out. Don't avoid them because they feel unfamiliar or because there's a part of you that doesn't want to acknowledge they're changing things. The people who are most at risk from automation are not the ones using AI. They're the ones who are waiting to see what happens while everyone around them is figuring it out. When AI saves you time on a task, use that time to do something higher value, not to do less. That reallocation of effort is what separates people who grow through this transition from people who get left behind by it. And recognize that being early in your career right now is not necessarily a disadvantage. You're building habits and skills in an environment where the tools are already part of the picture. You don't have to unlearn a decade of doing things a different way. That's a real advantage if you treat it like one. Here's the version without any softening around the edges. Some entry-level accounting work is going away. That's real, it's already happening, and pretending otherwise doesn't help anyone. If you came into this expecting a career path that looks exactly like it did 10 years ago, that expectation needs updating. The profession is not going away. The demand for people who can exercise judgment, maintain client relationships, interpret complex situations, and be accountable for conclusions, that's not shrinking. If anything, as the mechanical work gets automated, the value of those capabilities goes up relative to everything else. What changes is where the human value sits in the process. It moves up. The floor gets raised. The baseline you need to clear to be useful and employable is higher than it was, which means the development timeline gets compressed, and the expectation for what you bring beyond just completing tasks arrives sooner. That's the real picture. It's not catastrophic. It's also not business as usual. The people who do well through this are the ones who see it clearly and respond to it deliberately, not the ones waiting to see if it all blows over. That's the honest version of where AI and accounting actually intersect right now. If you're building a career in public accounting and want more on what the day-to-day actually looks like, I've got more videos below. Subscribe if this was useful.